Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Jason Tucker, and this is WPwatercooler episode number 96. Today we are talking about what are the best free WordPress plugins for your website. Let's go around the room here real quick, get everyone introduced. We're going to go in alphabetic order, not with Chris Lemma, but with Carol.
Hello, I'm Carol Stambaugh. I run a shop here in Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona, called Tech Tools, and I love WordPress.
Awesome. Good to have you on, Carol.
Thank you.
How about you, Mr. Lemma?
My name's Chris, and I blog over at chrislemma.com. You can find me on Twitter at @chrislemma, and I run the North County San Diego WordPress meetup.
Very nice. Today we're talking about what are the best...
So turn down their volume or
Caller,
not.
do you have your radio on?
That will cause a rift in the space-time continuum.
Yeah, we're about to go like all meta on ourselves and like.
Don't cross the streams!
Wait, the space-time continuum is Star Trek, right?
And I love
Or is that
WordPress.
just everything?
And who's next for the
There's a
introduction?
lot of things.
Chris Perryman, how about you?
My name's Chris, and I'm over at.
Wrong Chris. All right, who's
I'm just hearing Jason, or I'm just hearing Chris talk on a recording. Anyone else?
yeah, you've got a window open that you need to close.
Yeah, close all the other browser windows.
You can't watch us and be us at the same time. It's just not. It's not possible. You're either a watcher or you're a beer. Yeah, thank you.
Who's
We'll come
next?
back.
We'll
We'll
come
come
back
back.
in just a second. All right, how about you, George?
Hashtag.
Hashtag. I am George Stefanis. I am the team lead for Jetpack Pit Crew. I work at Automatic, and I like building shiny things.
Very cool. What about you, James?
My name is James Laws. I'm the co-founder of WP Ninjas, the creators of Ninja Forms, and you can usually check me out on Twitter at James Laws or WP Ninjas.
How about you, Russell?
Hi, what's up? My name is Russ. I'm in Las Vegas. I work for a company called Orion Network Solutions. We build National Weather Service websites, and we build plugins.
And you guys have those really awesome chairs back there.
I'm actually at the place where WordCamp Las Vegas is going to be held. So,
I recognized them.
That's where that's where we hang out. That's how we roll.
Sweet. How about you, Say?
Red walls and bar stools. My name is Say Reed, and I am on the Twitter and all the things at Say Reed Media, and I do WordPress stuff, teach WordPress, make WordPress, preach WordPress, love the WordPress. Move on. We're done here.
So that's me.
I'm Steve Zengen. I'm the founder of Steve Interactive, and I lead the OC WordPress meetup.
Suzette.
Hello, everybody. I'm Suzette Frank, and I'm the WordPress evangelist at Media Temple. And I'm going to be speaking at Milwaukee this weekend, Foundation Friday and Saturday as well.
Very cool. I'm Jason Tucker. You can find me on Twitter, Jason Tucker, and I blog about all sorts of audio-video stuff at wpmedia.pro. So now that we have the
Don't
introduction,
forget Chris Perryman.
Also, Chris, she closed her
I'm
window.
back. Sorry, I opened it to share on Facebook and didn't know what was going on.
Good story.
I'm Chris Perryman. I do WordPress design and development and own Revelation Concept, and we pretty much just work on custom WordPress solutions.
Very
Your
nice.
face is a custom WordPress solution. Awesome. I couldn't resist. I have problems. So anyway.
Jason.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about our favorite and our best WordPress plugins that we're using out there that are free. That's the thing. It has to be a free thing. So I don't want to have any of this, premium theme.
Full free or freemium?
Yeah.
Talk about freemiums or just straight free?
Let's just talk about the free stuff. How about that?
All right.
Hold on, I have to
So
change
stuff
my
that
list.
does not have a premium paid level, so we can't talk about like Yoast's WordPress SEO plugin because it has a paid one up above it.
Oh.
Look, we made some rules here, okay?
Then there'll be nothing to talk about,
You've just disqualified all of my suggestions.
right?
No, we're not doing that. That's too
Mine too.
All right, so at least the free level. So freemium is fair game.
Sure.
As long as it's useful freemium, because there are some freemiums out there that are like, hey, you can do this one thing, but none of this other stuff until you give us money. I don't think that that's really embracing the spirit of the freemium model.
You're like, look, we wrote the code that makes it so that we can accept money from you. Isn't that enough for you?
As long as George something that has an arbitrary limit on it.
Does George want to start by talking about Jetpack, or is there something else he wants?
I was waiting for him to work himself out of it.
Hey, I'm part of a community, man. I'm not here to plug my own stuff. I'm here to join the discussion.
All right, cough.
But now that you've
incidentally, Jetpack freemium.
Let's talk about
pay for it through Jetpack.
Well, actually, just so we're clear, you cannot buy a version of Jetpack. So
No, but you can buy stuff in Jetpack.
yes, but Jetpack itself is free. It's always free, and many of the little plugins inside are free. And there's a couple of for sale services in there that are SaaS based, but most of the stuff in there is free. Now, if you weren't looking at Jetpack, I do have a couple of favorites that replicate some of what I use in Jetpack, but sometimes I don't deploy Jetpack to other sites. So there's a free plugin called Simple Custom CSS, and all it does is add a window inside of the admin to add your own overrides via CSS, and that's all it does. So it's a very, very focused. In fact, most of my favorites are all very focused plugins that just do one thing. In this case, it just lets you add CSS to your site.
Is that Norcross's one? Because I know he put one out a while back.
This is not Norcross's. No.
I think that the plugins that do the simple one thing are really just the stars, in my opinion, because they don't bloat the whole site out. They do that one thing, and they're easier to update for the developer, so they stay more current. Because all they have to do is update the little bits of code that they're using when things get updated, and they don't have to go through and do a whole revision. So I find that those like Simple Custom CSS or like Disable Comments, which is like one of my favorite plugins ever. They just do that one thing. They do it really well, and they stay consistent, and they're useful, and they're not these crazy investments of time and bandwidth.
So the two others that I thought about for the show that were also related to that kind of single focus. There are tons of others that I use, but one of them is called Code Snippets. And again, Code Snippets lets you, in the same way that you can add CSS, it lets you add PHP into your site. But instead of putting it into your theme's functions.php file, which then locks it into the theme, this keeps it abstract. So it's kind of like if you were writing your own plugin, but you don't want to write your own plugin. It lets you drop in a little bit of code, and then that code gets saved separately so that you can either activate it or deactivate it, which I think is really cool.
That's
very smart.
That's very cool.
I've not used that particular one, but there is a caveat to be careful, because not everybody should just plug code into their admin that way, because you can bring down your whole site. And so just a caveat to that, because I use that too a lot, but I've caught myself occasionally missing a semicolon or something stupid like that.
Yeah. The last thing to note is WordPress.org has a new section in profiles, which it's not new, but in case people don't know. And so if you go to WordPress.org and you look at people's profiles, you can go to like profiles.wordpress.org/ChrisSumma, for example, and one of the little tabs is called Favorites. And in Favorites, you can see the specific plugins I've favorited out of the repository. And if I go to Jason Tucker's, I can see the ones he's favorited, right? So it becomes really easy to just say, oh, what do you recommend, or what do you recommend? You just go to the tab Favorites and see, if people have marked it as a favorite in the repository.
What's even cooler about that is when you're in your WordPress dashboard and you go to add plugins, you can click favorites and put in a user profile name and just add it right there inside your dashboard.
You can be Chris Lemma in your dashboard.
No. None of us can be Chris Lemma.
What? That is amazing.
One of the plugins that I love, that I just install by default on every site, is Custom Post Type UI by Brad Williams. And that just helps easily manage custom post types and taxonomies.
Along with the custom post types, this is one, I don't know, are you guys going to ding me on the free versus not free, but it's the types plugin.
Yes,
probably.
Yes, we are.
But types is a really nice plugin. Now you have to, its companion plugin, Views, of course, is the paid version, but I really like the Types plugin. I think that's a really nice entry into custom post types for people who are learning to get into the custom post type world.
Agreed.
One plugin that's really good if you're using custom post types too, besides advanced custom fields, which I'm sure somebody will mention, but it's, the CodePress admin columns.
That's a great plugin.
It is a great plugin. What it does is it allows you to customize the admin panel. So all your custom post types, like your pages, they have a specific default value. So you can customize the columns or hide the columns that are not relevant there. And it's a pretty sweet plugin.
One of the things I love about that plugin is if you install WordPress SEO or a plugin like that, by default it adds a whole bunch of columns that you really don't need, or that I don't need.
Really, it does crazy stuff too to the list. It's like
it makes your title one character by one character. And CodePress admin columns will clean that up for you.
And God forbid you're going down to like a responsive width on your mobile phone.
Yeah.
It's like scroll. I really like event calendar. We've talked about it a lot.
I use it.
I use that for so many of my client sites. They have events at their stores, or they're holding events or being at like trade shows or whatever, and it's so easy to use, and they really like it, and it's pretty.
By which you mean the Modern Tribe, the events calendar?
Yeah, I was going to say for the show notes purposes, get the plugin right, because there's a lot of them out there.
There are, and they're all named like event calendar or events calendar, and turns out those S's make a big difference.
The event calendar.
The event calendar. So I am referring to Modern Tribe's events calendar, and they of course are a freemium model, so there's a bunch of add-ons that you can do, including like ticketing and stuff, but the base version of that is super useful and totally usable on its own without adding on anything, so that one's super dupes handy.
I'm just going to assume from the top that we can skip over some of the really obvious ones like BBPress, BuddyPress.
Look, nothing is as obvious as it seems here.
Okay.
Mention them.
Why not?
If you're trying to run a forum, I've seen so many WordPress sites where people have WordPress and then in a subdirectory they'll like install PHPBB or vBulletin or something. And it's so much easier to have shared user accounts, have it integrated with your theme, everything works smoothly. Just install BBPress and be done with it.
Although let's put a little caveat on that. Just because BBPress isn't like the most easiest thing in the world to just manipulate around. So I don't know about just like install and go. You still have some configuration to do.
With anything, you need administration.
I don't know.
Management configuration. You have to know.
If you compare BBPress to other forum software that's out there,
like vBulletin or
it's
something?
really easy.
Oh, okay.
I had clients actually set it up on their own, so can't be
Alright, so comparatively, fine.
What's the big forum software that everybody runs?
vBulletin?
vBulletin. Have you ever
Which can power your site too if you really want to.
What's that?
vBulletin can power like your full site, pages, blogs, everything. It's kind of a monster if you really want to dig into it, but
it's not free.
Go try that out.
It's not free either. You have to pay a lot for that software.
Yes.
One of my favorites is Debug Bar, and one in particular is Debug Bar Shortcodes, which if you've never used that before, it kind of exposes all the shortcodes that you have. So if you have a theme with 5,000 shortcodes,
that's cool.
You can display a list of all of them.
What's it called?
Debug Bar Shortcodes.
I hate shortcodes.
On top of that, I like a plugin. It's called What Template File Am I Viewing?
That's a great plugin.
Yeah, that way, like if you're not sure like how to edit something in the theme file, it spits it out in the admin bar.
Is that different than What the File? Is that a different one?
I think they're very similar, but this one was just written by John Hawkins, who's a really good buddy of mine, so I thought I'd plug it.
I love John.
That's good.
John's awesome.
What the File is WTF, you know?
Back over to plugins that end users use and less on the developer side. Another event one is called Event Organizer. And Event Organizer also does a variety of different displays of events, so it's not just the calendar display, but it gives you the list and all these other things, but it's also really, really simple for end users to interact with.
their custom post type inside, like when you install the plugin and it has events, it's really easy to navigate. I love that plugin.
Yeah, it's a good plugin.
I'm going to say another +1 for advanced custom fields, despite all the drama going on with it right now.
I love it. I love it.
Was it, Chris,
Actually,
did you just write a blog on advanced custom fields and some
I
tips?
did. They broke backwards compatibility, and if you're a developer and you have a constant relationship with your clients, it is not an issue at all. If you're also a developer and you have no relationship with your clients and it's just like, good luck, get out of here, no issue at all. But if you are a developer who has deployed a lot of advanced custom fields on a lot of sites and you have somewhat of a relationship with those customers, and they all go to do the upgrade and then they don't, and then they have to call you to tell you like, hey, how come, and then you got to tell them to go buy, and then you had to, then it's nightmare scenario. So
or hours, whatever, billable time.
I got to tell you, I've upgraded about 5 sites now to ACF5, and it's been really smooth. They have a little update button in there that will configure your database if you need.
Yeah,
I haven't had any problems with it.
Too much of a headache with it. I think it was a stupid, like, the way they did it was dumb, but it'll all be okay.
It's all just a question. It's all a question of what you use.
Okay.
So if you use one of the premium plugins but not the rest, and then you have to go pro and you don't. But again, the core base of it is really solid, and a lot of people have loved it for years. I just wrote the article saying I really wish they would have done it a little differently, but. Yeah,
I agree. Look, I agree, and I think what you should read if you are an ACF developer and you haven't upgraded to 5 yet, read about the scalability piece they put in place. I mean, they really did optimize the database pieces of this.
Well, I'm like kind of a related, like protecting your site type plugin. What is it? Updraft Plus is a really good one. For backing up, and it does it also in segments, which is kind of nice, so it's not backing up your entire site at one time. That's free.
That's just weirdly named Updraft. I don't know how I feel about that.
There's a lot of really, really good backup plugins. My favorite personally is one that just backs up to Dropbox.
WordPress backup to Dropbox.
Yeah.
Updraft, go to Dropbox or Amazon S3. Like, there's a lot of options for that. And then also, WordFence is a really good free.
Yay! +1 for WordFence.
Theme security.
George, wait. So I have a question. Wait, sorry. Back on the backup to Dropbox. George, have you ever restored a site from WordPress backup to Dropbox?
No, I have not.
So it turns out that you have to install another plugin on your server to do it. So it's actually kind of convoluted to do on the back end. So just as a tip for folks. Just a tip for folks who are installing that on client site, it's always helpful to go through that process to make sure it works. Just, make sure you get your database and all that stuff before you just let them loose.
I mean, it's a very worst case scenario, as long as you're getting some backups somewhere
off. As long as you have your files in your database.
You have something you can somehow pull from.
Right.
It's all there, and that's the cool thing. It actually saves it, and your whole database is there, and your files are there, so you can make it happen. It's just not necessarily as simple as, say, the one-click restore from WordPress, which is not free, but is really handy.
So, but now there's a 5-day free demo in it. So.
I want to mention a plugin, a little utility that I use called Convert Post Types. So if you are changing post type names or configurations, this is a bulk way to switch one post type to another.
Actually, question on that. If you're using a post type that your theme is defining, which is really, really bad practice, and you switch from that theme, can you convert from a no longer defined post type into a standardized one?
Yes, because it still exists in the database.
Sweet! It's super handy. Like, for example, when I've set up clients who had all of their products in posts and then switching them over to something like Shop or WooCommerce, you can actually change all of those posts to products. So you just saved yourself, every minute of time ever, basically.
Steve,
that's amazing.
You know why George just asked you all that, right?
Why?
It's coming in the next release of Jetpack.
It is not. I have no plan for any such offering.
Two of the editing plugins that I use that my clients like are Edit Flow and Post Forking.
That will never not be funny.
I don't name them. I don't name them.
Developers with sense of humor. Fork that post. Come on now.
Well, I mean, that's actually what the word means. I mean, if you're looking at
That doesn't make it not funny. I think it's funny every time. Sorry.
I cannot. Many developers died at PyCon because of that joke.
No developers were harmed in the making of this joke.
With a lot of popularity and like responsive design, people want to log in and log out. I use a plugin called If Menu.
What is it?
If Menu, IF Menu. It's again another really simple one. It just adds a login, log out to your menu bar. You don't have to, like no code. And a lot of themes they offer this now with the login, log out. But on the mobile side of things, that link gets hidden. This drops it right in the navigation bar, and you're good to go.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. Cool. Another favorite one I've seen is conditionals for menu items. So you can only show like a certain menu bar item if the user's logged in or if they're logged out.
Right.
That's exactly what If Menu does.
Okay, so it's not just the one login, log out button. It's two buttons that you can show one only if logged in, show one only if logged out.
Yeah, like if editor, if admin, if logged in, if logged out.
Okay, nice.
If your mom, if your face.
Come on, sure, throw some.
I need to write I need to write like a fork of Hello Dolly that like just displays your mom is a custom post type or like that I should totally do.
You could totally do that in 10 minutes.
I know. I have to go, guys. Sorry.
Another one that I like is called Google. It's called Google Analyticator. That one's
I love that one. I love that one.
Awesome because it lets you be able to lets the either yourself or one of say somebody who's writing on one of your sites be able to actually see all of the traffic that's happening on there without actually exposing it to the rest of the team that's using the site.
There is a problem with that plugin though. If you authenticate it through Google, they might be able to access all of your other Google accounts. So just to be aware that, when you're setting that up, I mean, it's okay if you're setting it up for yourself, but if you're setting it off and handing it out, they're like, oh, let's see what Jason Tucker Pro traffic-wise today.
There's also Google Analytics for dashboard. I think it's Google Analytics dashboard that actually puts your analytics, a little screen in your dashboard, kind of like site stats, so you can
the WP-Google-Analytics one that Aaron Campbell wrote.
Yeah, she doesn't know names.
Yeah, she just knows.
I just know stuff, man. Come on, I don't know things.
One of my favorites is a recent one made by Today Made, which lets you take any bit of text in your post and turn it into a click to tweet. So, if you want to suggest that someone takes a quote out of your content on your blog post and pushes it out to Twitter, it's a really clean interface, and it's a clean look when it displays on the screen. So,
what are people using for social media links?
Oh, that one's always so hard.
Broken from that.
There's one called social media links that's really simple, and you can drop it into a widget. So if you have like a header widget, it creates the icons to link to your social media accounts, not like to share a post. For that, I would recommend Jetpack for that.
Honestly, what was that one called? Jetpack, if you want something third party, I love Add This, and not just because I know people that work there and used to work there.
I hate Add This. It's so
Add This does some really incredible analytics on your sharing stuff, and they can even track like if someone reaches up, copies the URL out of the address bar, and shares it to someone via like AOL Instant Messenger or something, they can track that share for you.
Wow.
This is pretty cool.
I've used one called ridiculously responsive social sharing buttons.
We got an echo.
I don't know who's echoing.
There you go. Hashtag blame today.
Got it.
Hashtag not me. Hashtag not it.
Go on.
There's still an echo.
All right.
There's still an echo. Come on, someone pick it up.
So the one I was talking about's interesting because it doesn't use the actual buttons that are from the site, so they load up really fast and they're nice and clean, and they actually can be responsive. So that one's pretty cool.
For those people who are Genesis users, there's a lot of great Genesis free plugins that just kind of work along with the Genesis theme. They've got some great ones, the visual hook guide hooks, and then the simple hooks, responsive slider. They've just got a lot of really neat stuff that works well with the Genesis platform.
Yeah, and I don't know if people have been paying attention to this, but WooTheme has rolled out a whole bunch of plugins that used to be core to their framework or part of their theme framework, and instead now they're separate ones. So testimonials, team members, projects, there's a whole bunch of them that are now plugins so that you can use them even if you're not using a WooTheme theme.
So let's talk about WooCommerce.
I wanted to mention the social icons, simple social icons by StudioPress is great. It's you can like change the color of the icon, and it's super simple, just like it says. So.
Do you need Genesis to use it? Do you have to be using Genesis?
No, you don't.
Good.
Otherwise, I would not be talking about it. Let's just be clear.
Yeah,
I mean, not that I hate Genesis.
WooCommerce is free, as is Exchange and several other e-commerce.
66 lights.
Yeah.
I'm loving Shop right now, you guys. Like, something about
Shop
it is
not
so
free. We can't talk about Shop on this show. Not on this show.
Shop is
that's
free.
Next week.
Shop is free. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
That's new.
Yeah.
Since when?
Yeah, no, it is. Since recently. It is free.
Oh,
Freemium model. I know, which is otherwise I wouldn't be talking about it.
Yeah, they're actually giving away.
Let her do it so she doesn't pick it.
Go ahead.
It's so great. My bad. It has the same kind of concept. They're actually doing now more of a pay for support and upgrades type thing, like all the other models, which was all, I'm sure, inspired by Chris Lemma.
But they will not give it to you unless you give them your email address. So you have to pay with your email.
That's okay.
Not free.
It's free, and it's really great, and it's super easy to use. The cool thing I like about Shop, as compared with WooCommerce, and this is a really minor detail, but it makes a difference when you're turning something over to a client to use, is that they keep their pages. WooCommerce, when it makes pages, it just puts pages in the pages section. Shop makes pages, it keeps it in the shop section. So people aren't accidentally renaming their shopping cart pages or their payment pages or accidentally deleting them. It keeps it separate, which I think is brilliant. So simple and so brilliant.
So since we only have a couple minutes left, I got to give a shout out for WordPress SEO, and we've touched on it a little bit, but it's a default in every site that I
It's industry standard at this point.
Yes.
It is.
Even people who don't know how to use it, use it. It's really odd.
Which may not be a good thing, but man, then there's also we got to also mention the all-in-one SEO pack, which also has a tremendous following.
And it has been getting better as they model themselves after WordPress SEO.
So say.
And then two
I used to use all-in-one SEO all the time, but then they just weren't as good as the WordPress SEO, and then their upgrade was basically the same thing. So I went with the original instead of the copycat.
And two other plugins that are worth mentioning are WP Super Cache and W3 Total Cache.
For sure.
Yeah. I think we should totally mention Broken Link Checker. Like, you should be checking your links all the time.
Broken Link Checker?
That actually runs really heavy on the server. It causes a lot of processing on the server.
That's why I don't leave it like activated or installed.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Theme Checker. I'll check that all the time and then deactivate it, delete it. But I'm always checking links because I want people to link to where I want them to go.
Oh, one shout out for a really good plugin. Everybody needs to install this. It's called Rainbowify. It's written by Otto. It's written by Otto, and it takes your admin bar and makes it Yankat.
Yes.
Don't do that.
I don't know if I should be putting this in the show notes or not.
Do it.
Wow.
It's a real plugin, and it's really awesome. It's
And
awesome.
I kind of want to look into activating that on .com for the next April Fool's Day.
Nice.
I know you won't need it if you're using Photon, which is part of Jetpack. But if you're not using Photon, the regenerate thumbnails is a lifesaver if you're changing themes and all of a sudden you need a different default. It puts some work on the server, but it's awesome.
Yeah, I was going to say, be careful if you've got thousands of images.
I think it's really interesting that there are actually some plugins that tell you in order to fix their thumbnails issues, you have like WooCommerce. They're like, use regenerate thumbnails. Use this other plugin to fix this because it's that good.
And I want to give, I don't know if we mentioned it or not, but I want to give one quick shout out for Query Monitor.
Yeah, that's great.
That sounds awesome.
If you want to monitor your queries.
I like WP Google Maps.
WP Google Maps?
WP Google Maps is an awesome plugin. If you need a simple Google map on like a contact page, go install that, set it up, it's done.
Nice.
Which actually is way easier now to use one of those plugins since Google Maps changed its whole thing and makes it really hard to like embed the maps now. Why did they do that? Why did it stupid?
I got rid of Google Maps and we use Esri Maps now, especially on like the National Weather Service site. We're using Esri Maps, but like Google just decided to make everything harder for us, so we're gonna use
They
Google
keep
Maps.
changing it, yeah.
All the time they change it. Like they change all their values and like APIs. It's insane.
Yeah.
You guys mentioned one about broken link checker. I just found redirection, the plugin, and it says that it checks 404s. Anyone know about that?
Redirection is a beast of a plugin, and things can go very, very wrong with that site.
And on that
use
note,
simple 301 redirects instead.
all right, guys. And on that note, we are closing out for the rest of the show. So thank you very much for coming onto the show and talking. And make sure you go over and hit the like button if you're watching us on YouTube, and subscribe to us, and also check us out over on all of the other audio players that are out there. Talk
And
to you
tweet
later.
us your suggestions.
Check us out.
Bye.
What do you want to hear us talk about?